on defense and the best player in college football on offense. Bryce Young, if it's possibly better than it was last year, he is on tape. Big physical offensive line and defensive line. But we're going to be very excited to get in our stadium and play them a national CBS game. Okay, with that, I'm ready.
All losses are tough, but that first loss, sometimes how a team takes it can define a lot. How are they? How they bounce back after that?
Well, I think we're fine. After the game, on the bus I was on going to the airport, I went back and talked to each and every one of them. The great thing about it, the sad thing is we lost, and the great thing is we're not used to it. That was only 2 losses in the last 10 games, but it hurt. We had guys that were crying. But every Saturday you put yourself in that situation, and you just try to do the best you can as a coach and as a player. But we're going to flush it out of here in the first half of our meeting, and then the second half is going to be on to Alabama, and we've got to learn from some things that we did that we have to not do. And once we get that handled, we'll move on. We don't have time. We got University of Alabama coming in here, and I'm sure we'll rebound and be excited to play.
Obviously, you guys talk about mistakes and stuff, but it seems like just a handful of plays making mistakes and other team making you pay for it. I mean, how much do you emphasize that with just 5 plays or so?
Well, those are the ones. It's like every play. So those are the ones that stick out. A guy can miss a tackle, or the one time we had a drive going and we threw a pass out to Hazelwood and we lost 5 yards, but we overcame that. We scored. We overcame that. Sometimes a guy misses a tackle wide open, a guy runs for a touchdown. It shows more. Obviously on our fumble. Obviously we've talked about it. We've had that situation before, and it goes back for a touchdown. Those plays, field goal, those might not be that big a deal. You miss it early in the first quarter. It's just, so each play really matters, and we're going to not make a mountain out of a molehill. We should have played better. We should have not made those mistakes, but we got to move on. We got to learn from it, and if we can do that, then we'll be fine.
Did Slusher get banged up again, Coach, late in that game?
Not that I know of. He wasn't on the injury report today. But he does make us a better defense playing that nickel spot.
Oh yeah, with that, KJ is carried. I mean, he's been a great quarterback for you for 2 years. Yeah. Is he at times though trying to maybe do too much this year?
I don't think so. I think his ball security hasn't been as good as what it was. We're a year ago carrying it, and I think he just gets caught up in the moment. If you look back at Ole Miss last year, he dove over those 3 guys and extended the ball and all that kind of stuff. And it was, I think he is trying to win the game, and probably that's about it, to be honest with you.
My question is about offensive balance. I think there's some fans who think, let's just keep doing what we're doing. And I'm wondering, if diversity, misdirection, trying to get Malik the ball, all those have value to you. What's the balance maybe between doing both?
Well, you go into a game basically thinking that you're going to be about 50-50, 50 run, 50 pass, and you have your packages with different guys. Bless you. And but then during the game, you go with what's working for you, and there's always that fine line where you go, well, just keep doing it, and then you're setting somebody up for something else. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For instance, on one of Hornsby's plays, we didn't pitch it back to KJ. If we do, Knox is wide open. That was the play. And for whatever reason, there was a little bit of penetration on Jones's guy. He decided to run it instead of pitch it back. If we pitch it back, I think the guy's wide open. We score a touchdown. So those are things that we felt like we had those are all come in 2-play series, one to set up the other one. Hopefully, obviously, you're trying to get success on both. But our problem right now, and it's not a problem, but we have a lot of good wideouts. We have a lot of good running backs, and getting each one of them carries and things of that nature. We're just trying to win a game, but sometimes things go. The last drive, for instance, whether we were supposed to or not, I was trying to score a touchdown, and we had down there 2nd and 5, and I was trying to milk the clock and score. I would, we'd already seen things during the day that, Missouri had missed their kick and things straight up and this, that, and the other, and I just thought we could score, go for 2, and get up 6, and if it was under a minute, I was going to score. Well, we were 2nd and 5. We had the snap hit Rick in the butt. And so that changed a little bit of our thinking at that point as well. But we just try and do what we can win. But the game plan will have a 50-50 run to pass. And we're going to take really what's kind of going well for us or what they're going to give to us. You have a plan of what the defense has done against other opponents. And then if they change on you, you've got to change too. Sometimes that's throwing the ball. Sometimes that's running the ball outside, whatever it may be.
So you play Alabama within a touchdown on the road last year. Yeah. What do you take from that game that maybe they can't beat us every year, and like things you can do against them?
Well, Alabama's, they can beat you before you ever run out on the field. And programs like that, Georgia, I don't know, in other conferences, maybe USC's that way. I don't know. Maybe Oklahoma is that way, per se, in the Big 12 or whomever it may be. But I think what happens when you play somebody close and you start having some belief that, we got a pretty good team. We can go out and not make mistakes, play well, play hard, get some turnovers, things of that nature, and you have a chance to win the game. And certainly that's where we're at now with our football team.
We've talked a lot about, the one big fumble, but the defense also hasn't forced any turnovers in the last 2 games. So how important is it to solve that? And how do you actually go about doing that?
Well, work on it every day. I mean, you're right. We haven't got any turnovers, not many all year. And we're very aware of it. We do strip tackling, and we have ball security where one side's holding on, the other one's trying to get it out. But for whatever reason, we just haven't got them out of there. Part of that is we have to get better at tackling, obviously when you tackle them, you have a chance to strip it a little bit better. And tackling has a lot to do within the box, but outside the box is where we're noticeable, and we just got to close the area down. We've got to cover closer so we can get a guy if he catches on the ground and things of that nature. I think we did get better, but we got a long way to go in that.
And I know it's early in the week, but have you talked to Drew at all yet about, facing his former team? And I know that's coming more common now with the portal and everything, but what is that like for players, you think?
I don't know. That'd be a good question for him. But I would assume for him, it would be, somewhat some familiarity with, what Alabama's doing. And there's got to be something in there. We'll try to downplay that as much because it is just about shedding blocks and tackling and doing his assignment. Obviously, it's different because, people in high school, they probably knew each other too, if they play close rivalry games and things. So he's probably been somewhat through that, nothing like this week, but he's a mature guy. I would assume it won't affect him too much.
Just going back to Slusher, wouldn't imagine it's easy for guys to come back and play well after missing some time, but I think he graded pretty well. What did you think of him and the impact he made?
He's a big deal on our defense. I mean, he's a good player. That nickel spot in our defense is probably, you get outside the core, it's probably most important position that we have. And because it's a run position and a pass position, I mean, at the point of attack, and a cover position. Yeah, I was really pleased with the way he played, and I don't want to use surprise as a word, but I was pleased that he played so well, having been out. I was concerned about his conditioning as well and things, but he played the entire game and played well.
Sam, it looks like Bryce Young's maybe running the ball a little
Yeah.
bit more. And you mentioned you might be even better than last year. What have you seen from him? What really impresses you about him?
A lot of confidence in everything he does, whether he's throwing, whether he's scrambling. He'll stay in the pocket till the last second. When he gets outside the pocket, he just looks comfortable. Like, I could run it for a touchdown. I can throw it for a touchdown. I'm just going to do kind of whichever one I decide to do. And he's been so hard to tackle for the teams that he's been playing. Texas is the only team really that put much pressure on them at all. And they did pressure them well. But I just think he's playing with an extreme amount of confidence, and he's obviously been a good player for probably since he was in sixth grade or whatever, but very, 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 very confident. Got a lot of players around him. Got some really good backs.
Will Anderson, he obviously had a monster year last year. What are you seeing from him? And is he doing something better maybe?
Well, he had such a good year last year. He's right where he was last year. You have to have a plan for him. You have to look out there and go, okay, who can change the game on both sides of the ball? And you got to have to try to eliminate them as much as you can with your schematics or double teaming him or whatever it may be, turning to protection, whatever you're going to do. But I've seen him. I mean, he's took over a couple of their games defensively, just puts them in second and 16, second 15, whether it's run or pass. They got a whole bunch of good players on defense on their D line too, but he sticks out still.
Coach Max Fletcher's played 4 games now for y'all. I mean, he's a freshman.
Who?
Max Fletcher. Just curious what you thought of him through 4 games.
I'm so sorry. Oh, you're talking about Matt.
Max Fletcher, your punter.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Inconsistent, sometimes he's trying to match so much, like Smith, he was trying to keep him from returning the ball so much that it's like a pitcher aiming a ball versus just throwing it, punters have that same where he's trying to aim it, and he's not doing his regular motion. And, he had a couple of nice punts and they didn't have any return yardage, but on 2 of them, there was a reason because they were, 30-yard punts, 28-yard punts. I think just consistency with him. He's got to punt in a game like he does in practice, and I'm sure he'll get better at that.
Your defensive ends have flashed quite a bit in the game, Sam, but did the interior defensive line play a little better Saturday night? I noticed Eric Gregory had a couple of plays in a row. Nichols had some plays.
I think overall they made more plays. I think their grading points were higher than what they've been consistently. I'd say that was probably maybe their second best game they'd played. But as far as making big plays, they made more negative yardage plays, some sacks in there and things that they're playing hard. They're playing well. I'm happy with those guys and they made some good positive plays.
Alabama lost so many skill guys around Young, the speed guys, Mechie and Williams. But I'm wondering, you got Gibbs now. I mean, who are the guys who get the ball? Where are their speed guys now?
Okay, well, they got Burton, came in from Georgia, who who's really good player. And then they got Holden, who's a really good player. And then you can go down the line a little bit with Bond and Brooks at wide receiver. They've got a really good tight end. And then you look at their running backs, and because they're so far ahead all the time, they played 5 and sometimes 6, with Sanders and Williams and Miller. And their main 2 obviously is Gibbs, a transfer from Tech, and McClellan. They play those guys about the same amount, or maybe Gibbs a little bit more, but they're big and they're really good players. Gibbs returns kickoffs as well, but a lot of speed. We got a big offensive line, and the Louisville transfer Harold. He hadn't played yet, so I don't know if he'll be coming back. They got 3 wideouts that haven't played yet, so doesn't look like they're missing them too much to me, but we'll see.
Sam, what you think of Dominic Johnson's game? Got knocked a little bit of the rust off.
Yeah.
And maybe what could be the plan with him moving forward?
Man, I don't know, Bob. I mean, I thought he had a good game. I think we're looking at it as we probably need to get the ball to Rashad Devinian a little bit more too. AJ's continued to improve. I think he had 9 rushes or something like that, average about 4. Him and Rocket both average around 4 yards a carry. So we have 4 guys back there that can really play. Your changeup guys really are R-Dub and Dominique, because Dominique's a bigger physical guy, and R-Dub's a guy that can do this, so at some point we're going to have to get down to 3. We're not there yet, but I thought Dominique did well in his first time back, ran hard.
Nick Saban, maybe 10 years ago, everybody thought, well, he'll probably be retired by now, but he's in his 70s. He doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
No.
I don't, and I think he tried to hire after you first got here with Brett. I think he tried to hire you.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. Just wondering what you remember about that. How well have you gotten to know him? Just what do you think about him?
I
Seeming as
think,
good as ever.
I mean, I don't know if you're supposed to, and I think he's fantastic. He's been so kind and so good to me. I sat right next to him in the SEC head coaches meetings, and I asked him questions, and he's been kind enough to answer them, and he's treated me outstanding, and I have nothing but wonderful things to say about him. And he's the greatest coach of all time, and in college football, in my opinion. And so, but yeah, I kind of was wondering when he's going to retire too, but I don't know when that's going to come. And the story, I had just been here about 4 or 5 weeks, and I had, talked to my players about loyalty and this, that, and the other. And then, I mean, can't be hypocritical. Yeah, my mother told me she didn't raise a son that would do that. So that was the end of that conversation.
That's pretty flattering, wasn't it? That he came after you?
Yeah, I mean, yes. But I loved it here at the time, when I was assistant coach as well as now, but I'd give Brett my word, and had given the kids, I was their coach, and it hadn't been but 5 or 6 weeks. I can't remember. It wasn't very long. And I called my mom. She told me she didn't raise a son that would do that. I said, yes, ma'am. And that was the end of it.
3 of Alabama's games have been pretty significant blowouts, and just the Texas game was close. Does that make it harder to, I guess, scout them, or just to have a whole lot? Because obviously you expect a competitive game, and only one game has been competitive.
A little bit, but you're going to get a half. You'll get a half of all those games, because they're playing whatever their game plan is and whatever they like to do against whatever defense, whatever offense they're seeing. Yeah, I mean, because in most of the 3 of the 4 games, you're seeing second and third team guys in there. But at that point, you're going back to a little bit of base offense. You're understanding, this is what they do base wise, because that's most of the time what guys do with their second and third team guys when they come in. Yeah, a little bit. The Texas game was sure a good game to watch and learn from that one as well. But yeah, they haven't been close in 3 of them, not 3 of the 4, not close.
Curious about your analyst. How many analysts do you have on staff, and like what kind of assignments do they have? I'm sure you have some self scouting you have some staying ahead of your schedule, looking at opponents, and special teams analysts and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have 3 on both sides of the ball and a special teams analyst. And you're right. One of them would be responsible for us. One of them would be responsible for opponent. Well, actually 2 of them be responsible for opponents coming up. One of them would be responsible for helping with practice, getting all the scripts and all that kind of stuff up for practice. Hurd, our special teams guy, he does all of those same things, just in the special teams form. But that's really why we have 3, because we can kind of have us, them, practice type deals as their responsibility.
Is that about what you've had in past years, and is that consistent?
It's what we've had since I've been here, but no, it's not. I mean, some have 3, some have 10. It just depends on, I think, what your usage is with them, how many you think you need in there, and that's not a deal where anybody puts a limit on it besides the university.
Sam, I'm curious what you and your staff's Sunday schedule looks like after a late game Saturday, traveling back, probably getting home early Sunday morning. Just when does that prep start?
If I remember right, I think we got home around 2, something like that. I think we got here maybe 1:30, 1:45, something like that. Got home around 2. No matter what happens, where you're at, we have to have the film graded, ready to go, and the defense meets with me at 1. So I don't ever watch the tape on the plane. A lot of guys do. I never did as assistant either. A lot of times you'd win, then you'd see 4 or 5 bad plays, and it'd ruin your feeling of victory. And then you'd have coordinator Cheney. He used to bring his laptop back and go, "Can you believe you guys did this?" And I said, "Cheney, I don't watch it, so I can at least enjoy the night, But I always go in no later than 9 on Sunday morning and try to get my tapes watched by 1:00 for the defense. And I meet with the offense at 2, and I meet with special teams at 3. And then right after that, we have a team meeting. Then we start. When I meet with somebody else, the other group is prepping. And then we have family dinner about 5:30, somewhere around 5:30. And then we work until 10 on our opponents. And then we go home at anywhere around that 10 or a little bit later than that.
You said on radio Wednesday that there were a couple of guys out for the year. And I don't know if you meant Torian and Jalen, or just what 2 guys you were referencing.
Well, Cat is one of them, and Day.
So he was in me.
Cartilage that we repaired, and if you repair it, that goes into a 3 to 4 month, and that was best for the kid. I mean, you obviously can trim cartilages and all that, and you have a fake knee like I do. If you trim it too much or don't have any bone in there, or you can elect to repair it. His it was intact, but it was loose, and they were able to sew it back in there and repair it. So that's what we wanted to do for him.
Coach, kickers can sometimes be a mental position. With Cam, he's been so good for you.
Yeah.
How do you make sure he doesn't, let this bother him down the line? Does having a special teams coordinator like Coach Fountain maybe help with that?
Well, I would hope so. Cam's such a unique kid. I mean, a great kid. we're going to put in perspective, he missed a field goal, and that's it. And he didn't lose the game for us. Heck, we had a chance for the game to. I mean, we had a lot more chances than that, and missed a field goal. We'll put it in perspective. I'll bet you he might miss another one, before it's all over. But he's gonna make a whole bunch of them too. So we're just gonna put it in perspective for him, which we have.
And also, I was looking at some stats here. You've outscored opponents in every quarter except for the third. You've been outscored 41-13. You have any idea what's going on there? Or can you put your finger on anything?
No. I mean, I wish I did. We're going to change up. I mean, we're going to have halftime at practice this week. We're just going to stop. And then we're going to come back and go good on good right when we come off of halftime. And we're going to change the way we stretch coming out of the half, and we got to change something. And you know what we're trying to do? We're trying to put it in our mind that we got to get going. We couldn't get out of our funk Saturday. I mean, we're still up. While the offense, I met with the staff, and then while they were meeting, trying to adjust, I was in the locker room talking to our kids because you could feel that we were behind by 30. And we were up, and you could feel it. And so I went in and started talking to them about, what we have to do, and made them aware that, we haven't started fast in the third quarter and things of that nature. And it was just blah, for a few minutes on the clock, maybe the entire third quarter. And it's been that way the entire year. You always worry about starting fast in the game, and we've been okay with that. It's the second half where I think every game this year we've been ahead, or we were behind at Missouri State, but we've been worse. They've either been closer to us or we've been worse behind in the third quarter of every game, and we have opportunities to put people away, and just haven't been able to do it. So it's on our mind. We're going to change a few things up at practice to see if we can emphasize a little bit better.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, guys.